Good morning, everyone. I call this quarterly meeting of the Texas Veterans Commission to order. Ms. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do,
Thank
Chairwoman.
you. I'll call upon Commissioner Kevin Barber to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag, and then Vice Chairwoman Kimberly Shaneyfield will lead us in the Pledge to the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I'll now request Chip Osborne to come up and lead us in the opening prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon our agency. We ask for a special blessing for our commissioners as they make decisions today. Please be with all of our presenters. Now, Heavenly Father, we especially pray for all of our service members that are currently deployed overseas, and we ask for special protection for all of the families that are left back home. Be with them. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Chip. First item on the agenda is approving of the meeting minutes for our first quarterly meeting, which was held on November 14th, 2023. Commissioners, you should have copies of that in your agenda packet. Are there any questions or comments on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the meetings minutes from our first quarter meeting held on November 14th, 2023?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I heard Commissioner Hernandez first. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you. Next on our agenda is public comment. At this time, I open the floor to any members of the public who wish to address the commission on matters under its purview. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes, and please remember at this time for the commission to consider public comments. However, any discussion or deliberation by the commission for matters not posted on the agenda must be limited to a proposal to place the subject on a later agenda or be confined to statements of factual information or existing policy regarding the subject. I do have one speaker request for an agenda item. We'll wait till that agenda item. Is there anyone in the room that wanted to make a public comment but did not get a chance to sign up? Okay. I do not have anyone who wanted to sign a public comment outside of an agenda item. And I believe we do have one guest in our audience. Is Scott here?
Scottman, I don't know. I don't think he is.
Okay. Well, when he arrives, I'll acknowledge him when he.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Our first agenda item is agenda item 3A, which is the quarterly presentation of the advisory committees. I'm going to ask the chair of each advisory committee to give their report. First up would be the FVA Advisory Committee and Carrie Reyna.
Good morning, commissioners. For the record, Carrie Reyna, the FVA. Commissioners, on the 17th of January, we met for the first time. We welcomed 3 new members, and went through the normal thing you would do, staff introductions, and approve the 12 April minutes. With that said, we went through, Ms. Zavala did a great job of putting a PowerPoint presentation together and laid it out very nicely where each of the committee members are in their terms. And I think what was powerful about that was the fact that when we elect a vice chairman this coming 28 February, that they'll already have an idea of, where they are. We did, so we were able to discuss the vice chair roles and responsibilities shadowing me and we did publicize it that this is my last term, so that would help them along. And as they discern if they'll even take a nomination for vice chair. With that said, then Irv did a great job of giving flux training and going through the different tasks that is involved with that. Now, we have 151 applications at this point in time, but what was good about what Irv did was he gave the new members a pretty good snapshot of what they're up for reading these applications. And I can tell you the first time through, it's pretty daunting, all the different information that you have to glean, discern about, and then go ahead and rank in that. So with that said, I want to give credit to Miss Jamila James. She actually brought up an idea, which I am going to institute on the 27th of February. After we go through our normal agenda items, then we're going to let the new members or any other members have questions for either Miss Zavala, Irv, or myself, Dan Ball too, because he'll be terming out on exactly, hey, I saw this in an application. Can we talk about it? So we'll pause for about an hour doing that and see if there are any questions to kind of take some of the, it's like standing in front of a fire hydrant trying to drink when you're first doing this. So hopefully that will alleviate just a couple things. And then finally, we're going to meet on the 27th and 28th of February and listen to either virtually or in person presentations. So, subject to your questions, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Carrie. Is this your last year on your last term?
It is. Yes,
This is your
ma'am.
last cycle.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations on your last cycle. Thank you so
It's
much.
been a lot of fun. I really have learned a lot.
Well, thank you for serving us for so long. Any other questions, commissioners?
Just one, the 150 apps, is that, how does that compare to last year? Do you have the number for last year, the total that we saw? Sorry to catch you.
No, that's usually about the average, a little plus or minus, depending. I think at one time since I've been doing this, we had about 180. I'm not fibbing, am I, Irv? No, I didn't think so. So yeah, it's a lot of time and a lot of reading.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Next, I'll call up the VCSO Advisory Committee Chair, Sam Perez.
Yeah.
They didn't do any report. They just met yesterday.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Palladino, for the record, Samuel Perez Jr., Hidalgo County VSO, and the current chair for the County VSO Advisory Committee Board. First off, thank you for your appointment and having faith in what we could do in this coming term. I wanted to bring up some of the things that we want to work on as being the chair. We want to streamline training for our county VSOs. We want to increase the applications submitted by county VSOs for applying for grants. And then we want to motivate our county VSOs to represent our veterans at the Board of Veteran Appeal level. There is a huge backlog in that area, and I believe our county VSOs could help in that. But it goes hand in hand with our training. If we're not properly trained, we cannot represent. So yesterday's meeting was a step in the right direction. Working with Mr. Sal Castillo, we are working on creating a great curriculum for our yearly conference, as well as providing that training in our regional breakouts. We were provided checklists, we were provided timelines, and we were provided an updated curriculum. So we're very pleased with that. We are also going to be working with Ms. Zavala and her team and creating a curriculum for our county VSOs in applying for grant process, because it takes so much more than just the application online for county VSOs to get approved a grant for our regions. We have to go through our commissioner's court, to our treasurer's office, to our auditors. And so those are steps that we have yet to publicize in our training curriculums with TVC. So with our input, I know in our county, Hidalgo County, we've secured a grant 4 years in a row with, I believe, $1.6 million. And we continue to break down those barriers, and I want to continue to do that for all our counties in Texas. Barring any questions, that is my report today.
Thank you, Sam. Congratulations on your chairmanship. I thank you for taking up that responsibility. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you.
I just want to say that thank you for the initiative that you'll be taking for the next term. It sounds very exciting for the VCSOs.
Thank you. sir.
VCSOs.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Veteran Services Advisory Committee, Earl Newsome.
Good morning, folks, and happy Fat Tuesday. Thank you again for the reappointment to the chairman's position. Last time I was here, I was saying bye. I guess I'm saying hello again. We had our first meeting since August last year, yesterday. The August meeting was short-circuited because we had communication problems with the website. So really the last full meeting we had was May last year. So what we're doing, we're catching up on the review of the Veteran Entrepreneur Program that Colonel Palladino asked us to look at. We had some notes in the files from our subcommittees, but we're re-energizing those notes. So hopefully at the next meeting I have with you, we'll have the recommendations already submitted to Colonel Palladino for the Veteran Employment Veteran Entrepreneur Program. One of the areas we're looking at a need to emphasize is targeted outreach to veterans who are seniors. I think all of us can recall getting a call from a wife or a veteran who's, retired or whatever. He's died, she's died. Now they're trying to get information on burial in a VA cemetery. I've personally helped 2 families get veterans into the state veterans home there in Houston, where the family didn't know even the veteran home was there. It's a brand new place. And, if you go back and look at VA stats, only 20% of veterans are 100% service connected. So a lot of people are averse with going back to the VA to increase their disability, because out there in the community, you know what they say, don't go back to the VA, they may reduce what I have. VA basically has a policy that if you've been at that service connected level for 20 years, they don't go back and reduce it. A lot of people don't know that. So we see some areas that seniors 55 or above, or whatever age you folks decide needs to be, that we could have that focused on pre-need eligibility for burial, reevaluation of your disability level to increase your disability, working with the county service officers, enrollment in VA for healthcare. VA has their studies out there that shows that's a fair number of veterans who are eligible for enrollment, but they don't. Again, that could be something that supplements their Medicare cost out there. And also use of the state veterans homes. How many people realize that that's available? So we see that, we do when I say we, federal and state do a pretty good job when people are being mustered out to say, okay, do your claims and get that stuff. But then they go away. They get their 10, 15, 20% disability, when they're in their 20s, and then they don't come back for a reevaluation. So we see that there's an opportunity there to give folks a reminder of what's available and what from the state and the federal level as they get older, and to do this ahead of time before it's a crisis where somebody has died and now you're trying to find a DD-214, or they're spending all their money for health care where they could have been enrolled with the VA, or a spouse is trying to be the caregiver of somebody's at home who could be in a state veterans home. So we see some opportunities of partnering with the county service officers, with the people who are the healthcare advisors in the VA hospitals, to at least say, when you see this person, he or she's over about 55, ask them, are you doing more for yourself or than you think you could? Is it something else we could help you with? And did you realize that, yeah, you're 20% right now, you've been 20% for the last 30 years. Isn't that ailment that you had 20 years ago worse now? So we see those opportunities. So we'll dust off what we were looking on the entrepreneur program. And the next time you see me, we'll be able to talk about what we talk about on targeted outreach to senior veterans. That's all I have. Subject to any questions.
Thank you, Earl. Any question?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Agenda item 4A includes our agency program and division updates, and I'm going to call upon each division to come up and make their updates to the commission. First is a program operations division, and I believe Anna, you're going to be coming up first, then Sal, and then Gary.
Good morning, Mr. Palladino, Chairwoman Kerner, and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Anna Baker, and I am the Director of Veterans Employment Services. So this morning, I am going to share with you what we did in the first quarter. We did an audit of our staffing out in the field, and we found some areas where we could actually expand our services in some locations. So we made some strategic personnel moves. In the Gulf Coast, we moved one of our veteran career advisors. We had 3 at the Westheimer location, and we converted the position to a rural veteran career advisor, and we placed that person in Missouri City. We also moved one of 2 VCAs from the VA to Pearland. So now we have a veteran career advisor in Pearland. And we also moved an individual that was located at Baytown and moved them to the Southeast AJC. So we're able to serve more veterans in that area. And then we also looked at West Texas. We haven't done this yet, but we will be doing it within the next quarter, is expanding our services in the Permian Basin. We're going to create more coverage across West Texas. We currently have 1 rural veteran career advisor in Odessa. We're going to add a second one in Midland. These 2 individuals will be able to cover each other, and this also expands services a little further out to cover like Fort Stockton, Presidio. Big Spring is also another area that we'll cover. And we're going to continue to review our areas of operations and identify more opportunities and places where we can serve veterans. And as you know, we do not just serve veterans within the workforce centers. We have veterans we have staff at Goodwill, American GI Forum in San Antonio, and on various military installations. The Jobs for Veterans State Grant is due to the Department of Labor on March the 1st, and that draft is currently being pending review by the Division Director, Charlie Cato. And also with regards to district training, our North and West districts are planning their district training events, both scheduled in the week of April 22nd. And the following week, we will have operational planning, and this is where I meet with my headquarters operations team and the district managers. We look at our goals for the coming year, and then we also review staffing goals and make any changes or adapt the goals based on how the staff has done the previous year. And then our VES symposium is tentatively scheduled for next October. So barring any questions, that's all I have.
Thanks, Anna. And commissioners, any questions on veterans employment?
No questions.
Okay.
Very quick. Do we anticipate any issues with the DOL grant?
Oh, no, sir. None at all.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd like to call Sal Castillo. He's going to give a brief on benefits.
Thanks.
Good morning, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, and Mr. Palladino, and all attendees. For the record, my name is Sal Castillo, Director of Claims for Texas Veterans Commission. Have a couple of things here, or several things that I want to mention that are worthwhile mentioning. Very exciting stuff that we're doing. And I've been with the agency for 2 years, and we've done a lot of change to serve our veterans better. So we currently have our CMS program called VetPro. It is utilized to facilitate remote services to our veteran community and tracks our workload and output of forms submitted to the VA. It is safe, it is secure, it increases our efficiency. One of the things that I want to note, it doesn't matter we have an office near to a veteran or not, we can do their claim. We can do a claim if they're in Japan. If they're anywhere in the world, we can do their claims. That is a phenomenal feature that we can carry. So that does not limit us from helping out our veterans out there. So I want to make sure you guys are well aware of that. As an update, we also added 10 FTEs to our staff around this great state to assist our veterans and their families in facilitating their claims submittals. So this, will increase our claims that we're getting. Not only do we lead the nation on the veteran population now, but we also lead them in submittal of claims and compensation coming back to our state. And that's thanks to our staff and our county counterparts out there. So great things. We also understand that many of our veterans are still engaged in the workforce, which presents a disadvantage for those that can't make it out to our claims offices out throughout the state. So we've added 4 claim benefit advisors to work more beneficial hours to them to accommodate for veterans out there. And so they work from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they don't have to take a day off of work to do their claim. They can do it while they're doing their lunch or maybe a 15-minute period or so. Hopefully we can do it within that time frame, but it's more accommodating for them to do it after work. So, that they can take their time. They don't have to be rushing anywhere, and it's more affordable for them. They don't have to spend gas. We all know how expensive that is right now. So I will note that there's no other agency that does this. We're leading the way on that. Very innovative procedure that we have. In addition, in January of this year, we have created 4 positions, mentor. They're in charge of being mentors, training, and liaisons to our internal and external stakeholders, which has increased the accountability of producing better and more efficient claims advisors out there. Mr. Samuel Perez alluded to that we're developing new curriculum. We're holding from 30, 60, and 90 days to make sure that our staff and the county counterparts are trained properly and there's accountability and we can track every single step of the way. This will result in us being more efficient and doing the claims process a lot better, which will benefit our veterans and their families out there in the community. So that's another thing that we do. And finally, we have our annual conference in North Texas, specifically of the University of North Texas, and that's going to happen on July 15th through July 18th. And so we're going to bring our county partners to come in and train with our CBA staff, and this is going to be great because now we're developing new curriculum based on the needs of all of us, whether we internal or external. All right. And that's just a few things that we're doing. There's a lot more things that we're improving in our department. And so I yield to any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Sal. Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
So Sal, also, I just wanted you to mention that, using your VetPro system, which is your electronic submission claim system and claims management system, that we use, that in there that you've developed a reporting system for all of your leadership in order to manage the workload, the number of claims that everyone submits, that all your staff submits, but also their workload. Can you just talk about how you and your leaders can manage that?
Correct. So basically, at any given point in time, they can print out a copy or produce a copy of the report of what every single staff member, CBA, is doing in their district, in their particular district, and goes down to their office. So we know the appointments, how many people they're seeing per month, how many claims they're submitting. Every single detail is produced in that. We've also taken the initiative to create a dashboard where you can go in there and take a look at how many, claims they're doing, how many appointments they're seeing, fluctuating trends back and forth. And this is a tool that the supervisors can utilize to say, okay, what is your workload? How are you doing? And it's just more beneficial to them and accountable for all our CBAs out there and our staff. In addition to that, we also get a survey. So if you do a claim, once the appointment is done, you get a survey and you can tell us how we're doing. So that's a 5 rating that we have, 5-star rating. And so anything below a 3, we're going to call the veteran and say, how can we improve our process? Tell us what we did right, what we did wrong, and just give us a little bit of feedback. That helps us train our people a lot better to serve our community. Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
You're gonna,
I was gonna have a question, but you can go first.
oh, is it real time, Sal? So if I was to look at the end of the day of a dashboard, I'd see everything that went on during the day?
If we, yes.
Okay,
we can.
excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
we can pull that out, any
I
of
love
those things. Yeah.
Very good, outstanding. Can we see a copy of the dashboard when you guys,
When we finish it, yes, sir. Yes, we can schedule a meeting. if you wish.
I think that Sal was, what he was showing me was, right, they were doing monthly reports. So they could do when they get I think when the January one is done, or you could send me the December one, then I could share that with the commissioners.
Correct. I think, Mr. Amaya?
Sal,
Yes.
how long is the wait time for, say, a veteran goes on to Vet Pro, requests an appointment for claims? What's the average amount of days they have to wait to get to their appointment?
It varies by office, of course, but on average is about 19 days. And that,
19 days.
yes, 19 days, yes.
For down? Thank you.
It just depends. We do have a little bit of turnover and then the holiday.
It does seem like it's definitely less than I've seen before when I've visited facilities that.
Yeah, so what we did, we try to implement, COVID was, a tough time for everybody, but there's some positive things that came out. One of the positive things is that we recognize that we can work remotely, right? So we didn't go back to placing all our staff back in the offices just to do walk-ins, or schedule a face-to-face appointment. We have a combination of three. You can schedule a face-to-face appointment, or you can schedule a phone appointment. And then for those that are in the clinics, of course, we can't take away the walk-ins. So we accommodate for that. So we're doing all those things. And so the phone appointments have been very beneficial because it's more convenient for the veteran. They don't have to drive. They don't have to, it's just more convenient in any way you want to look at it. So the phone appointments are actually more available and we can get them taken care of a lot quicker. So that has actually diminished the amount of time that they're waiting for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sal. I appreciate that.
well, one other quick one, please. On your survey, when did you start implementing that?
That was back in 2022. Yeah.
What's your percent respondents?
So on average, with the whole department is about 93%. So we have
To the survey?
I'm sorry. I thought the actual results. So the response is about 10%, more or less.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's in comparison to the private sector,
Okay.
and we do better than Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions on claims? Okay, and Gary, I believe you're next.
Gary?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Chair Kerner, fellow commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and other attendees. For the record, my name is Gary Lee. I'm the Director of the Healthcare Advocacy Department. I'd like to co-sign the previous gentleman who said happy Fat Tuesday. Okay, as far as the Healthcare Advocacy Department, probably the most pertinent thing that we have coming up this coming Friday, we're having a webinar, or as we refer to it as an information session. One of the things we do is try to look out and see what's going on, not just today, but tomorrow, next week, next month, next type of things. We predicted and noted a population growth, which means an increase in veterans throughout the state, more specifically in the Northeast region. So this is where this is generally set up to contact those new veterans who don't yet understand what the HCAT does or what TVC does in some cases. So we're putting forth an opportunity for them to listen in, learn some things specifically about HCAT. But if they have questions, we're going to give them a little basic information about the Texas Veterans Commission and give them points of contact. We work closely with our COM and Outreach Director, Mrs. Angela Wallner. She's done a great job. She's even got the governor's office pushing out notifications for us to tell veterans that this is coming. So that's the biggest thing that we have coming up right around the corner to address those new veterans. Another thing that we have, and also in cooperation with COM and Outreach, are surveys. I know Mr. Castillo just spoke on it a few minutes ago. Last year, FY23, I think we had an overall response of 8%, something like that, for our surveys, and that was not good enough. So we made a concentrated effort this fiscal year per quarter instead of just putting the invitation out as we did in the past, adding it to emails, hoping that they see it. We've been following up, sending follow-up emails, or in some cases, our supervisors are making telephone calls and getting more feedback. I think we've increased that up to somewhere near 16% thus far, and we want to maintain that for the rest of this fiscal year. Additionally, we have a virtual training conference coming up. We're looking at April 16th and 17th. Basically, we're going to shut down the offices for 2 days. And instead of spending the money to travel and get together like we did in October of 23, we're pretty much, as it says, we're just going to use this platform and conduct 2 days of training to make sure we're up to speed on VHA guidelines and protocols to help understand and to work more closely with our VHA partners and to overall increase and maintain standard of customer service. We're always trying to stay ahead of that particular issue. We recently, I've had the opportunity to talk to some people. There's been some chatter out there about the new DD-214s, even though they aren't necessarily new, but some veterans are finding out about these. So we're hearing some questions and things of this nature. We've communicated with several of the VHA healthcare systems, hospitals, clinics. They're not making a major change because one of the big changes with the new DD-214s, instead of a social security number, they're going to utilize a service number. Now, for the more senior veterans and those of us who remember, that used to be what they went by, and the VA systems were set up for that for the older veterans. So this change back to the service number on the DD-214 is not a new change, anything that's going to put anyone off their feet. So we've talked to several of our hospitals to understand that, okay, they're going to keep doing business as usual. They just told their clerks, pay more attention to the service numbers versus the social security numbers. And we're prepared to do that as well within our in-house database. Like I said, we've talked to some hospital directors. About 2 weeks ago, I went out to El Paso and met with Mr. Garcia out there to just, again, help them understand this is what we're doing. These are the changes that we've made. Here's what we've done for your veterans and your campuses, your communities, and the outlying counties. That went very well. He said, fortunately, he was a person who already, not only was he familiar with the Texas Veterans Commission, but he knew what the Healthcare Advocacy Department did as well. So that was a good thing. He spoke some nice things about the Women Veteran Program, and the local representative there said she was doing a wonderful job also. And I think the last thing that also in El Paso, that upcoming event in March, we have Mr. Walker, our El Paso healthcare advocate, is going to be on a panel and joining Mr. Palladino, talking about some of the local resources to assist the veterans in that area as well. And the last thing, we have currently 3 vacancies, one in Waco, one in Amarillo, and one in Granbury. We anticipate all of these being filled within the next 45 days. Any questions on anything regarding the Healthcare Advocacy Department?
Thank you, Gary. Any questions, commissioners?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is the Resource Management Division, and I'll ask Chip Osborne to come up.
Good morning, Chair Kerner, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and fellow directors. For the record, my name is Chip Osborne, the Division Director for Resource Management. Firstly, I would like to inform the Commissioners that as the Resource Management Director, I'll also have responsibility for the emergency management, and we have Tim Chateau, who is our emergency management coordinator. After lengthy discussions with Tim and a few of our other directors, Tim, handles a lot of our weather information that we give out, as well as some other alerts. We felt the need to go ahead and do a contract, and we got with our communication director. We also got with our IT director, and I got with the deputy, and we huddled and we decided, and we went ahead and implemented a contract with Alert Media. This contract actually allows us to do even more. So not only will we implement that, and Tim will be the lead working with that team, not only will this do weather, but we were able to also work with other departments to set up. So like with Anna's team, because a lot of those offices as well as Sal are out there peppered across the state of Texas, that if there is, God forbid, a a bad actor out there, active shooter, then they would be able to do immediate notification out in that sector, so they could actually do that. So we've actually implemented that. That implementation will actually start this Friday. So I just wanted to share that news as we continue to grow in our agency and bringing on new tools and new assets for our agency. It is my pleasure because I don't think we have formally introduced him, but I want to formally introduce our new CFO. Happens to be Kenneth D. Biddle. He is a Navy veteran, and Kenneth has a MBA that he earned from the University of Texas out of Tyler. His undergrad was completed at Texas Tech Management, Go Red Raiders. He is a certified CPA. He is also a certified Texas contract developer. He comes with 12 years of state financial experience, ranging from budget analyst to IT budget director. He served at two other state agencies, the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, the Texas Historical Commission. Kenneth came on board on December the 11th and has done a phenomenal job. He went into SharePoint. He now has all of our budgets back in order. He did briefings with all the executive team and has got them on the path. Kenneth is going to come up and give the commissioners overview of our first quarter, and then he will be followed by Elaine Zavala to give an overview how we're doing with our grant cycles of our grants that we're looking at currently. Okay?
Thank you, Chip.
Kenneth?
Welcome, Kenneth. Go Navy.
Good morning, Chairwoman Kerner, Commissioners, and Mr. Palladino. Thank you for the great introduction, Chip. I was a suppo in the Navy, if anybody knows what that means.
Yep.
I was a pork chop wearing the supply corps oak leaf. So if everybody would turn with me in your pamphlets or your booklets to section 4, documents 2A and 2AB for the first quarter operating statement graphs and the backup documentation. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of where we stand right now in our budget as of November 30th. As of November 30th, we spent approximately $6.7 million of our overall budget, approximately 21% across the agency. Of course, our grant programs, we'll start spending that money as we start awarding grants in the May cycle for awards in July. So that's going to be low for this quarter and next quarter, and we'll start seeing expenditures coming in the fourth quarter. And then that representation is broken down in those two slides, the first 2 pages of that, where we stand across all of our non-grant programs with a overall roll-up by the total non-grant programs on the second page, and then where we stand with our grant programs with a roll-up on the second page. And then the document 2AB provides all the breakout of expenditures by legislative budget board category, salaries, other personnel costs, professional fees and services for the overall agency roll-up, and by programs if you want to flip back through those pages or have any questions on those pages. And last but not least, I have the projected EFF funding, our lottery revenue funding that we give grants for in every fiscal year. Right now, I have a change because the Lottery Commission is projecting a decrease slightly in revenues for the fiscal year. Overall, we haven't been expending some of our 22 grants. So I have about a $13.9 million that we're going to carry forward from previous fiscal years. I'm pretty good with that number right now because we're currently cleaning up 22 grants. I expect that number to grow slightly. So I think that number is a good number to plan with, that plus the $30 million we have set aside as our base appropriations. We'll have an update on that on the next commission meeting on where we stand with that. It's going to be a closer time after we free up some of these grants and move some of that money forward. So it's probably going to be a little more money, but I wanted to give this as a good planning document for you to plan grants for in the next cycle.
So Kenneth, So does that mean we will have, in addition to the planned $30 million that we always plan for?
Yes, ma'am.
We anticipate a potential $13.9 million more that we could align towards 2024 grants.
Yes, ma'am. That's
So
what,
43, that's
almost 44. Yeah, almost $44
almost
million.
44. Thank you. That's some good news. Any questions, commissioners?
Thank you for your time.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Mr. Palladino, and commissioners and staff. So yes, you did hear that right, $43 million. So we are super excited for that. So I'll be presenting an update to the commission regarding the status of our 24-25 grant award cycle. So in your commission folder, I have provided that last attachment there underneath Kenneth's for the 24-25 grant cycle update. So let's recap what has happened so far. So first, we got our RFA approved, right, in August of last year. The request for applications opened up in October. It closed in December. So with that open application period, our staff ended up doing 2 webinars there. And we placed those recordings online for our potential applicants. Then the applications were due December 4th through the TVC grant portal Flux. Guess how many applications were submitted?
180.
180.
I'm looking at your report.
180 were
Figure that.
submitted by that deadline. And so Vice Chair Schoenfeld, you asked, what did we do last year?
Yeah.
121 were submitted.
Wow.
So that is a significant increase. And I want to say that I'm going to give the credit to our communications team for pushing that out and doing Facebook ads, getting applications out there as well, because we didn't have a communications coordinator to push that out. So that was just sheer push by communications and our FEA grant staff as well.
Right.
So I want to applaud them for that. So once we close the applications, our compliance team, I have a couple of folks here, Noah and Jackie, y'all want to raise your hand? Those guys did, and James is our one remote employee in North Texas. They actually went through and they screened all of our applications. And I want to say that they went the extra mile this year because they went back to organizations that were missing documents and they just said, hey, you got a 5-day grace period. Where are they? So we had a significant increase in applications that said, oh my goodness, here it is. So with that, we have 151 applications moving forward. So only 29 of those, were ineligible. And as you can see, 17 of those were actually quote unquote ineligible. The other 12 were, they applied again, but they were actually up for renewal. So we just said, hey, you guys got to come back in May, for the renewal process. So as you can see, $37 million in funding is moving forward for recommendation to our advisory committee members. And so right now, the applications are being evaluated by our staff and will be eventually, I think later this week, we're going to be giving those applications to our advisory committee, Ms. Carrie Reyna that was just here. So her and her team are going to be reviewing those before our February 27th and 28th presentation meeting. That's actually going to be held here in this room. So at this time, we have like 60 organizations signed up already. That email just went out last week. So they're very eager to come and present to our committee. And then so finally, I want to mention a little bit about our renewals as well, because that, you heard the big number, 43, and then we have 37 moving forward. So we are estimating that we have 76 applications for the 23-24 grant cycle, and that totals 18.5 million. So that's a possible, our renewals get priority funding first, right? They go to you, and that's based on that 60% performance measure for both expenditures and performance numbers. This year, we are looking more at the performance numbers served.
Thank you, Elaine, for bringing that up. So we have our current grantees who didn't need to apply because they're already being considered for renewal. So those are not included in your 180. So this is 180 new grant requests.
Yes, ma'am.
On top of the ones that currently have them. 12 of them accidentally reapplied. They didn't need to. Okay, got that.
I think
So-
they do it out of caution, right? They're
Right.
like, we don't want to miss any opportunity.
Okay, wonderful. So really only out of the 180, only 17 were marked ineligible. And I really appreciate the extra mile that you guys take to, because some of them are new to this process and they thought they submitted everything and they didn't, and it may have just been a mistake. So I appreciate that extra effort that you put in there and the team. So thank you. Any comments, commissioners, questions?
I'd like to elaborate on that to what Chair Kerner brought up, but could you just briefly mention that what efforts you did take for the applicants that were missing something, and then what did we do? How did we reach out to them to see if they could turn it in?
Sure. So our compliance team, as I mentioned, Noah, James, Jackie, they actually reach out to the organization by phone. And then if they don't answer there, they send an email for a written record. They give them a deadline, 5-day grace period. And then, obviously, if we're not getting it by that 5-day, they actually even, reached out to them again, said, hey, you didn't respond. Can you respond? And then from there, if we put in the notes in our ineligibility document that they just did not respond, which was really unfortunate.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
Chip, anything else in your division? Nope. Okay. Moving on to Deputy Executive Director Sean DeBay. And sorry, minor pause here. He gets extra time.
He has pins in his ankle.
Okay, great.
Does that say Suzuki?
Hoping for a few more questions so I can get them to get ready, but that's okay. Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and guests. For the record, my name is Sean DeBay, the Executive Director. I'd like to first welcome Kenneth Biddle as well to the team. In a short amount of time, he's done great work. Working with his team, he wanted to give you a heads up that we are looking forward for a new potential internal auditor. As you know, our current internal auditors, Weaver and Tidwell, we had a 1-year contract starting in 2021, September 2021. We've done 2 option years. And this year we're looking to go out for a request for qualifications. Normally we do a request for proposal. It's a longer process. We really wanted to focus on qualifications and do a little more efficiency. So we are hopeful to have a recommendation to you all by the May commission meeting. No later than the August for sure, but we're targeting May to give you a recommendation for a potential new internal auditor. So I want to give you a heads up on that. Texas Coordinating Council for Veteran Services. Last time I updated you. Now we had a meeting on January 30th of this year. As you know, this is a council made up of state agencies and chaired by Mr. Palladino, and they met on January 30th, and they have identified the needs of veterans around Texas. The next meeting, they'll concentrate on steps to overcome those needs. And of course, there's a report that'll be due October of this year. Wanted to highlight something in the Women Veterans Program. Something pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and read this. They are putting together the annual Women Veterans Community Outreach Campaign. This is a Women Veterans Program. Will be spotlighting several women veterans in the state who reached the rank of General 07 and above. This campaign provides information on significant contributions of women veterans in the state while honoring and recognizing the participants' amazing accomplishments. So we're hoping this inspires other women veterans as well. The campaign will be video embedded on our website and shared on social media throughout the month of March, which is Women's History Month. And lastly, just got a few things on communication, events coming up. Chairwoman, your Texas Real Estate Conference in Hyatt Place, Stone Oak Hotel, San Antonio. That's right around the corner. So you got that coming up. March 8th, there's a military and veteran block party, San Antonio at the VFW. This event aims to provide support and information regarding VA claims, as well as general financial assistance, food, utilities, dental care, and other services. The objective is to increase awareness and available with resources for for veterans. So that's pretty soon as well. You heard a little bit earlier about March 12th to the 14th at the El Paso County Veterans Benefits Fair. Mr. Palladino will be one of the speakers at this event. We'll have a lot of people participating on these panels. That'll be coming up. And we don't have much information on this yet, but there's a Veterans Matter Community Resource Fair at the Westside Community Center in New Braunfels that's coming up, and we'll give more details as that comes up, but that'll be April 26th. So barring any questions, that's my report.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next report is by Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom Palladino, the Executive Director. Thank you, Commissioners, for giving us your participation and guidance and in considerations of all the upcoming considerations that are coming in, on the agenda. I want to thank everybody in the agency for their hard work in serving our veterans and their families. I'd like to lead off with that. And, some of the programs that weren't mentioned, like our veteran education program right now, and the entrepreneur program, and of course, in our mental health program, that and with all the ones that were mentioned as well, that you guys really, ladies and gentlemen, just work really hard and doing everything you can to go above and beyond serving our veterans and in their families. So I want to just appreciate that. So we focus on, I want to give a shout out to Kenneth, who's been working really hard with him and his finance team of forecasting with all the department directors. So we have all our department directors, and of course, Angela Wellner's not here today. She's taking a strategic planning course, getting ready for our strategic plan. But he works with all of them to forecast their budget on a monthly and quarterly basis to ensure that the appropriated funds are managed properly, that we don't lapse any money and we don't run out of money. So, and he does a very good job at that. And so I appreciate you doing that. And the department directors are really, really focused on that. So, we focus a lot on our operations and training. And then, behind the scenes, we also have our HR department, our training department, and our finance department, and our IT department. And they're behind the scenes in the engine room, if you want to use some naval analogies, right? In the engine room, making the ship run. And so if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to function. So shout out to all of you as well. So some of the things coming up, and what we have I hold the directors responsible for is managing their people and their resources. So what does that mean? That means filling the vacancies, because we always have vacancies. We have our turnover rate. I think, Tina can correct me, but I think it just came out, and I think it's at 19%, and the state average is 17%. So it's a little high, but of course that includes people that retired or people that passed away. And, so there's other things, but it's right in the, near the state average, but still people do leave. And so we fill those vacancies. Then we have to train them, right? And every department has a very unique but detailed training program. And so those individuals need to be trained in order to do their job. And then, of course, there is the supervision and the oversight. And now we do everything electronic. So when I got here in 2010, we did everything by paper, everything. There wasn't a single thing we did electronic. And now it's vice versa. Now it's totally the opposite. It's a 180. Which is nothing we do by paper. We all do everything electronic. And that gives us an opportunity to, if we work from a separate location after hours, so serve veterans remotely and serve each other and take care of, the administrative business behind the scenes. So we focus on that. And there's a lot of tools out there, like we mentioned, with the different electronic systems to manage our workload and to manage quality and to, and to ensure that, our staff, gets everything they need to do their job and serve a veteran. And customer surveys. We get a lot of customer survey. Every department does customer surveys. Claims brought it up, but everyone does it. And then, of course, communications does overall customer surveys for the agency. So we get those and tabulate those. The HR department under Tina is working with University of Texas at Austin to do employee surveys within, every 2 years we do those. So, we do that as well to try to get feedback so that we can do better. So I appreciate everybody's efforts there. What's coming up is we have a couple of things coming up. One is strategic plan. So we'll get the instructions from the governor's office. That's coming up probably, next month. And then we will get that thing approved in March. I mean, not March, as you were, and in May. And then we have the LAR, the legislative appropriation requests, which will be approved. It will be August. So those two items are right around the corner. And of course, our exceptional items go in there in the LAR, which everything comes through the commission. So those are coming down, and then getting ready, of course, for interim charges. They're already out from the legislature, and then the next legislative session is going to start, of course, in January. So that's our focus there, and and all of our departments are involved in all of that. We are focusing on rural veterans in the rural areas. And of course, elderly veterans. We met with Tony Dale yesterday, the executive secretary of the Veteran Plan Board, and we're working with outreach to our 9+1. There's a brand new one of veteran homes, and trying to service them with their disability claims, which we do, but we're trying to up that and also recognize them. Years ago, Anna Baker and I, when she was a Women Veterans program manager, we went out and recognized World War II women veterans in the homes. And so we want to try to do that again, because not just women veterans, though, all World War II, Korea veterans, and even Vietnam. And so we want to make another outreach to them. So we're going to do that, because there are still World War II veterans and Korean War veterans out there that we want to recognize. So we're going to try to do an outreach there. And speaking of outreach, our benefit fairs. So Angela Wellner is working, as Sean alluded to, with the VLB, which is part of our mandate from Sunset from 2006, that we do benefit fairs across the state. So we're working with communities to do that, because we need to outreach, especially in the rural areas, but also across the state, of all the services that are there available to meet the needs of our veterans and their families. So we're doing one in El Paso, we're doing one in San Angelo, that's coming up in April. And so now we're starting to get the ball rolling again. The pandemic kind of put a hold on those. So now we're getting back out there and doing those. And with that, all of our services as well. And we can do electronic services. So you could do claims there. You can enroll them in healthcare. And so there's a lot of things that we can do while we're there. So I'm very excited about that, because I think that's very important. I want to thank you all for what you're doing, and appreciate it. And, just keep improving, and I think that's where we also look at is how do we keep improving the services? So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? No, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the consideration items on our agenda. So we're moving to agenda item 5A, which is action regarding the Hayes County Commissioners Court request for grant increase. And I'll ask Elaine Zavala, who is our Funds for Veterans Assistance Director, to present this consideration item.
Good morning again. All right, so for agenda item A for your consideration is an amendment request from the Hayes County Veteran Service Office. Hayes County VCSO is requesting an additional $50,000 for their general assistance financial assistance grant. The county was awarded a 22-23 grant for $150,000. And at the time of the renewal, when it went up for your consideration, the county's performance did not meet the 60% in the expenditure or in the performance measure. They were at about 40, almost 50% in those categories. So then at the third quarter commission meeting, the FVA staff recommended a $50,000 decrease. So from 150 to 100 for the next year. And so therefore they were renewed for the 23-24, the one that they're currently in at 100,000. But I want to report that by the end of that 22-23 grant, they actually did fully expend and fully serve those numbers. It was just at the time of the renewal that their performance measures were below that 60%. So it seems like they really ramped it up after the fact. So in your commission folder, you can actually see the current progress in their 23-24 grant. That's that Excel document that is titled Hayes County Performance Analysis. And so as you can see, as of December 31st, 2023, the county is at about 94% of clients served. So I think it says veterans served, but they're actually serving dependents as well. And then they have spent over 71% of their funds And primarily when I spoke with them and reviewing their reports, it went primarily to rent payments, which are pretty expensive. So they're requesting an additional $50,000 to bring them back up to $150,000 as originally budgeted, and as you can tell that they need.
Thank you, Elaine. What is the staff's recommendation?
Staff's recommendation is to award the $50,000 increase.
Commissioners, any questions on the report? We do have Jude Prather, who's going to come up and speak on behalf of the grantee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. I'll call up Jude Prather.
Chairwoman, Commissioners, thank you for your service. To the staff of the Texas Veterans Commission, thank you for what y'all do every day. It truly is a partnership, the training, the technical assistance, the healthcare advocacy. It is a partnership between the state and the county. It's a vital partnership. And
I'm sorry, man. What's your name again? Are you getting that?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Jude Prather. I'm the Veteran Service Officer for Hays County.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. As I see the state of Texas seal behind you, I look at the Hays County seal, and it's the same state of Texas seal. We're the same team, same fight. And that's to make sure we're going to get the earned benefits not earned benefits, the sacred benefits that our veterans and their families have earned. Our Hope for Hays program, as we have called it, it is in our third year. As mentioned earlier, it's the previous 2 years were successful. We hit all of our numbers and spent all grant funds. Commissioners, get to the point, grant this request. 100% of this $50,000 request will go directly to help veterans and their families here in Hays County. I also want to introduce Amanda Torres, our program manager for Hope for Hays.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the record, my name is Amanda Torres. We had budgeted $150,000 for a grant renewal period. In response to the mandated adjustment of a reduction of $50,000, we decreased our client services budget to $58,537. As noted in our PRR report, we have spent $41,648.34, or about 71% of our budget. At this time, our financial payment capacity is limited to $500 per application. A substantial portion of mortgages and rent frequently surpass an average of about $2,000. This holds notable importance since most vendors demand payment in full. If we were to receive additional funding, it would enable us to offer financial relief in the form of complete payments rather than temporary assistance in the form of partial payments. Commissioners, if awarded additional funding, they will be expended accordingly within the current grant year. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the Hays County Commissioners' request for grant increase of $50,000 for FY 23-24 Veteran County Service Officer grant?
Can I have a question real quick?
Yes, you can. Sorry, apologize.
What are assistive technologies?
Hearing aids.
It can be hearing aids, wheelchairs. It depends on what's unavailable.
And you're like, doesn't the VA provide hearing aids? So a widow, for example, that's not entitled to VA healthcare or can't VA healthcare, we have used it to provide hearing aids for widows of veterans.
Just hearing aids?
Yes, that's all.
That's all that number is?
So for this money specifically, it would just go towards rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. It would not go towards assistive technology.
But we did check all the boxes that on any of the categories that this $50,000 could be spent. But ideally, this is really, we're looking rent and mortgage assistance.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I did have a quick question. I see on this direct client services group breakdown, a huge part, the 32.2 is going to mortgage and rent. The other, what's a transportation beneficiary vehicle versus transportation ride?
So, and we haven't used this yet, but this is something we're hoping to use. For example, if a veteran doesn't qualify for travel reimbursement, that we could potentially order them a taxi or Uber, and the grant would cover the transportation costs with this.
Okay, so I see a transportation ride, but that's a small amount of $1,775. Then I see a transportation beneficiary vehicle, it's $12,000.
Oh,
That.
car repairs. So if someone has a vehicle that is vital to work or something, we can do car repairs. That's what that is.
Okay, That looks like a pretty significant amount as well.
Our repairs can average about $2,000.
Okay. This one shows quantity 1, 12,000. Just,
That number could just be an estimate for the current grant year, but in actuality, we would like to do more repairs.
okay.
I appreciate you asking this question because it does seem, based off of the material that we received, it seemed a little bit confusing. So it says here, the specific request was for $50,000, going back to the original paragraph, specifically for mortgage, rental, and utility. 15K for mortgage, 25K for rental, and 10K for utility. Is that the request?
Yes.
Maybe this is more of a question for Elaine. There is a separate table at the end, which is confusing because it says 58,000 and it has a whole bunch of other breakouts. What is the exact request?
30% of your budget is based on that.
So this table came directly from our Flex budget in our grant portal. So the narrative that was provided up above is technically a narrative, right? And then it gets into the real what they are going to spend in their budget line items in that table. So going through this, we will definitely have to, once the amendment, if it gets approved, we will work with the organization to make sure that what they're actually saying they're going to spend is what they're going to do for the veteran so that it matches.
So if we were to increase it by 50,000, not 58,000, but 50,000, you would ensure that it is spent within the scope of what is allowed this grant category to spend it on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I just want to clarify though, because I'm reading the 58,537 is what it got. We decreased the budget to 58,537, which I believe is the breakdown below, which I think is what it was spent on, right?
Yes.
You spent,
And this is why I'm just a little bit confused about where it's been spent, and I don't see a breakdown of where the 50, I hear it's mortgage and rent. I don't see a number of how many people that's supposed to serve and how that's broken down. I see, I think what has been spent. Is that right?
What has been spent is in the Excel document.
Okay, what's the direct client services group breakdown? What's that telling me? I guess I'm just confused about what's that.
So the 58.5, that table is showing what their current budget is and that what they've spent already is out of that 41,000. So they only have $16,000 left over. And as Amanda had mentioned, that 16,000 would go to smaller payments, not full mortgage rents or full mortgage or rents. So that document, that table is what their current budget looks like.
their budget, or, I mean, you have one,
Sorry, their direct services budget. So there's different parts of their budgets, and this is what they're requesting the $50,000 for that goes directly to veterans. This does not include their salaries, their indirect costs, anything like that.
I just can't get my head around the $12,000 to, I mean, that you bought somebody a car basically is what you're telling me.
That's could be.
I believe that that's multiple transportation fixes there.
Well, believe, or is it really? I'm asking.
It is multiple transportation fixes over a period of the grant.
That one.
How many?
Mistake.
Okay, can I jump in?
Yes.
I'd like to jump in for a minute. Just
Well,
to
hold
clarify-
on, Tom. I
Oh,
just asked a question.
okay, all right.
Do you know how many or not?
I could estimate 3 or 4 right now.
Okay, that's $4,000. Okay, go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify this, the documents. Okay, so the Excel spreadsheet, that Excel spreadsheet, that says how much has been spent. This says, it says budget, right? There's 41,648's been spent, right? Out of what, in a 6-year period, a 6-month period. So that's out of $50,000.
That's out of the 58,000 that's in that other document.
It's in the 58,000, Now, so if you go back to the other document, the 58,000 document, that is what's been spent, or is that what's been projected to spend?
That's the projected budget.
But for the remainder of the year.
No, that was the total grant year.
That was the total grant year, 58. So
Yes.
that was their projected budget from the beginning.
Correct.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. I thought they got
It's not 100.
$100,000 grant.
Yes, but like I mentioned, this is just direct services for veterans. The other part of their budget is salary, indirect. We did not include that information because we're not looking at that.
It's broken down on the Excel
On the Excel
spreadsheet. though.
spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
The 41,000 to salary, the 58,000 to client services.
Got it.
So, all right. So
Of our grant has gone.
Yes, that is correct. 41,000 went to salaries, whatever the remainder
administer
is.
the grant.
That's right.
And then 58,000 was for client services. That's what's being projected. I mean, that's
They have left out of that 100,000 they were given.
right.
And they've got 16,000 left of that with a whole lot of year left to help veterans.
Okay. And so if they get another 50,000, right? So that was the original budget. That budget was pulled out of flex from when they originally did the grant.
That's to show what they're serving
But
veterans.
that
with.
was 6 months ago or whatever, right? When it started. So what is it now? I think the question is what will that 50,000 be used for now?
And that's what that narrative is. 10,000 for rent. And Jude, y'all can be more specific.
Well, and I
That's
think,
that first paragraph.
I think they said though, that a lot of times it's going to be rent and mortgage assistance. That's what you're
That's our
seeing
intent is
based on the what you're seeing on the reality on the ground.
the high dollar amounts, the rental mortgage system. That's what we're really looking for with this additional $50,000.
Right,
But
which is why,
we could use it for the other items that are approved within the grant, but our primary goal is to use that for housing assistance.
right, the 12,000 looked like a big number to me as well. So I didn't exactly know what that was because it looks like there might be a need for whatever that was as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can apply that to transportation rides. Did one person use $1,700 worth of our money?
No.
Okay, so
Well,
who put these numbers
no,
together?
for if there was one car repair, it could have
Okay.
been 1,700.
Wow. I'm having a hard time getting my head around the 12,000 number, so.
So I think the question here is everything listed on this direct services group. Those are all authorized expenditures per the grant. So whether we like it or not, our RFP allows them to expend this grant money in these categories. And they are asking if they can expend 50,000 more to support any one of those categories that are allowed under this grant. They anticipate most of it being spent under mortgage, rental, and utility, but they don't know until the clients or this come in.
And let me reassure the commission that that one for 12,000, that is not allowable regarding our RFA. So we do allow them to spend, so let me put it in this list, this case, that 12.5, that is not just one person, because in our RFA, we have limits of how much we can spend per car repair. So that quantity it's there, but we know that they can't spend it on just one person. So with our flexibility, that's why we have our grant officers looking at their payments. They're going to be like, hey, you served one veteran and we can pay only up to this much. So that quantity will actually be more than just one.
I'm just going on.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
And that graphic and those numbers in there, the source of that, you said that is Flex.
That's in their Flex doc. That's what they submitted in their application. And so we use that just as a generic line item saying, okay, you're going to spend this much in this area.
But as you remind us, this is a reimbursement grant. So whether they spend the money in these categories or not, we will not reimburse them if it's not eligible.
That is correct. And that's our grant officers that are looking at that monthly.
you know, Elaine, another reason one of the reasons it popped out to me as well, because on the recent, was it the VCSOO, one of the issues that brought up as a need for some of our veterans is transportation issues. And so I was actually very curious about what this is and what they're doing in Hayes County as well.
We actually have 3 different types of transportation we provide assistance for. So one, like Jude mentioned, the Ubering, the getting from here to there, right? We pay for that ride. Number 2 is the actual beneficiary's car. It has to be titled in their name. They have to own it, right? We're not fixing the mother-in-law's car, you know, an example like that. And then the third is fleet transportation. So an organization that has their own vehicle that's providing the rides, we pay for that assistance as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm very comfortable with the fact that, I mean, there's obviously this is a bit of fleeting graph here. But I know we've got those backstops and, you know, I would hate to see the overall process. Let's pull out here and look a little strategically, that the fact that they were a little under executed and had some statistics that led us to recommend not renewing them at the full amount. I would hate to see the fact that they've now post-COVID, here we go. They've been doing a great job supporting veterans, and now they're coming back, as we said, the process allowed them to do, to get the rest of that, to execute, to continue to serve veterans. I think this is absolutely the right process. I love the transparency, and I would definitely move to support this request.
Thank you. Before we have any more comments, any more questions of?
I have one question for the VCSO. Is your request subject for approval by the Hayes County Commissioners?
No, the Commissioners Court already approved a resolution in support of this.
Thank you.
Great question. Any other questions of the presenters? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the Hayes County Commissioner Court's request for grant increase of $50,000 for the FY 23-24 Veteran County Service Officer Grant?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Alrighty. Any discussion? I know, Kim, you had already put your comments known. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to see a reconciliation of that. Thank you.
So as the motion is today, we would have to still approve, yes or no. There's no conditions.
Yeah.
I do want to make a comment. I think it's very important that we have renewal metrics. And if someone is coming for renewal and they have not met the renewal metrics, technically we could deny the entire renewal, but we tend to lean more towards helping as many veterans as we can, and we still renew, but at a lower amount to allow them to continue and to allow this process to happen. If they then come back and say, we can in this year perform to the full amount, we have this option to bring them back to the same, their renewal amount. So I appreciate the process. I appreciate that we don't just go off of a 60% metric and just say no. Otherwise, there would have been no grant this year at all. So thank you so much for following the process and giving us the information we need. I appreciate staff and everybody involved with this. That's my comment. I am obviously I'm in support of the renewal.
I'm sure you bring up one point that is interesting here. If you talk big, broad numbers here, and let's say 150,000 divided by 3, that's 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. 1/3 of that grant is paying salary. So it is incumbent on when we get presented with a renewal and we think we're cutting a total grant amount by 1/3. In reality, because 1/3 of that was salary, we cut their available financial assistance to veterans in half. I'm not saying we should stop doing that. We absolutely should, because those, as you said, those performance metrics are absolutely critical, and we need to use them to make sure we're not tying up funds that could be actually used to help veterans somewhere else on a place that is executing on timeline. But it is very helpful to understand, is this grant as an example, that 1/3 of that was tied up in a salary, and that was not obvious, of course, to us when we first did this. So that's very helpful to me to realize that in hindsight.
And Commissioner, I may add that the county did pay a portion of the salary from.
I
county
asked
funds,
that
yeah.
I didn't recognize you. We're past the presentation stage. So if you feel like you need to comment afterwards, feel free to comment and through staff. Okay, appreciate that. Any other comment? Okay. I'd like to take a vote. We have a motion on the floor.
Fair enough.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Motion is passed.
Much appreciated.
Okay. Next agenda item is agenda item 5B, which is action regarding the 2023 Media Award winners. And I'll ask Jim Holbrook, our Public Affairs Officer, to give this report.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino. I'm Jim Halbrook, the Public Affairs Officer of the Texas Veterans Commission, and I'm here to present our recommendations for this year's TVC's Excellence in Media Awards. These awards recognize outstanding stories and coverage by news media of issues that bring attention to veteran topics and their issues that impact their well-being. Our nominations were broadcast or published between January 1st and December 31st of 2023. The awards competition, including the call for nominations, the evaluation of the nominations, and the production of the winners' plaques, is a TVC communications team project. In addition to recognizing these valuable stories, it does strengthen our media relations across the state with outlets from every corner of the state. The nominations opened on December the 12th, 2023. They closed on January the 9th, 2024. The call for nominations went out to over 1,200 media outlets across Texas. Nominations are evaluated as to how they inform the public about issues affecting veterans, their families, their impact, and their effectiveness of approach and production quality. This year, we received a total of 60 stories, and that's almost about twice as many as last year, which was a little over 30. So in your commission folders, you'll find the recommendations for the award winners and links to their stories. If you would like, I can provide a brief description of each.
Commissioners?
I watched them and
Yeah.
I'm glad you sent them ahead of time because they're tear jerking.
Oh, yeah. I do appreciate you sending them all to us so we
Yeah,
can
really well done.
watch them all. I do think for the record, it would be nice if you just do a quick summary just so that we could acknowledge them.
Okay. In the TV news category, we recommend reporter Grace White of KHOU in Houston. Her story series, A Decades-Old Mistake. And this story began with a report on a disabled veteran, Joe Whitten. Whitten was beaten, robbed, and his finances were drained by people he had tried to help by letting into his home. After losing his home, he tried to enter a VA home, but was declined. The VA cited he did not need that level of care. Plus, his claims appeal was declined. Eventually, the VA found an error dating back to 1993 and awarded him $44,000 in retro pay and increased his disability rating to 70%. Whitten now stays at the Richard Anderson State Veterans Home in Houston. Ultimately, 3 people were arrested for scamming, assaulting, and robbing Whitten, and VA Regional Executive Director Robert Worley credited Grace White's story for bringing the case to his attention. In the print category, we recommend Jordan Green of the Longview News Journal and his series, East Texas Veterans Adjust to Life After Military Service. This featured 4 separate veterans and the challenges they faced and overcame in transitioning to civilian life. This included a veteran managing her military sexual trauma through her music career, a veteran who experienced years of PTSD and anger, which was affecting his family life, finally seeking counseling and improving his life and his relationship with his family. Another veteran who translated his military skills into civilian job market and successfully secured employment. And a story on how community and counseling helped a veteran manage PTSD, its triggers to him, and improved his overall mental well-being, and he got some rest. In the radio category, we recommend Brian Fitzgerald of Odyssey in the show on changing the definition of no soldier left behind. This featured an interview with Wheelchairs for Warrior founder Crystal Larimore. It discussed the variety of needs people have in wheelchairs for mobility, as well as the various positions from seating to fully vertical to horizontal, and operation chairs without handheld devices, such as being able to operate them by breath. It also discussed the engineering needs and the cost associated with it. It highlighted the need for mobility, the feeling of independence, and increased sense of worth mobility can bring, and how people can help veterans get the equipment they need. In photo, we recommended Andy Sharp with the Williamson County Sun and his work Stars and Stripes Forever. His photos beautifully showed Georgetown's annual Field of Honor and Veterans Day event and increased public awareness about the event. So those are our recommendations for the award. We also have selected runners-up in each category.
Thank you, Jim. Commissioners, any questions on the recommended awardees? Okay. Thank you for going through those. I appreciate that. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the 2023 Excellence in Media Award winners?
So moved.
Okay, I hear that from Commissioner Dale, and I will take yours, Commissioner Hernandez, as second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 5C, which is action regarding acceptance of gifts. And I'll ask Chip Osborne to give this consideration item.
Good morning, Commissioner, Chair Kerner and Commissioners and Mr. Palladino. Again, for the record, my name is Chip Osborne. We did not receive any gifts during this time, so there is no consideration for the gifts. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next is agenda item 5D, which is action regarding advisory committee membership selection. I'll ask Sean DeBay, Deputy Executive Director, to give the report. Did I say that slow enough to get you time?
I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Chairwoman, Commissioners, Mr. Palladino, and guests. For the record, Sean DeBay, Deputy Executive Director. We do have one vacancy for the Veteran County Service Officer Advisory Committee. You should have in that agenda item our official recommendation. You also should have a folder that has the application as well as a current list of members. But I'd like to focus your attention on the document that's our recommendation. We are recommending Mr. Russell, let's see, Kenneth Russell from Reeves County to replace Juan Amaya. Some of you met Juan Amaya, who's now the operations manager for claims. So we are replacing him, happy to take him from the Veteran County Service Officer field and replacing him with Kenneth Russell. He will serve the remainder of the term that Amaya had, and so he'll be eligible for reappointments. So this will be effective immediately upon this process. So that's subject to your questions. That's my report.
Thank you, Sean. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve appointing Kenneth Russell to the Veteran County Service Officers Advisory Committee to fill a vacant role with a term ending December 31st, 2026?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Sean. You are up again. This is action regarding recommended changes to the advisory committee process and procedures.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. Again, for the record, Sean DeBay, Deputy Executive Director. There's a couple of changes. So last year we approved a process for the advisory committee all the way from the application process to actually this year there will be a review of the entire advisory committee. But for this purpose, we wanted to change a couple of things for efficiency. The first is the application period. Currently, the application period is open all year around, which is great if we want to get as many applications as possible. But what it doesn't do is allow us to respond to those who did not get to serve on an advisory committee and letting them know. So if they applied in November or December, we would have to wait for the process through September in order to let them know, because we just wouldn't know yet. So we were recommending to change that process. And you will see on page 4 of 7 the exact language change. We'd like to open that up to June 1st to August 31st of each year. Allow that window. We really feel we can still get enough quality applications to provide for the following commission meeting for approval. But we just like for that, we're recommending that change. And then a really minor change on page 5, I believe it's step 9, just allowing Mr. Palladino to sign the welcome letters to the new advisory committee members. Really simple change. Those are the only 2 changes other than the date at the top to reflect today's date if this is approved. So subject to your questions, that's my report.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions? Okay. Commissioners, do I hear a motion to approve the recommended changes to the advisory committee process and procedures?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Sean. Next agenda items is 5F, which is action regarding review of the statutory 4-year rule, Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapters 455 to 456. And Kathleen Cordova, our General Counsel, will give this report.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, staff, Mr. Palladino, and guests. For the record, I'm Kathleen Cordova. I am the General Counsel for the Texas Veterans Commission. I will be presenting 3 items. My first agenda item, item 5F, is for the proposed quadrennial review of Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapter 455, TAPS Tuition Voucher Program, and Chapter 456, Contract Negotiation Mediation. This proposed quadrennial review of agency rules is necessary to satisfy the agency's obligation under Texas Government Code 2001-039, which requires state agencies to quadrennially assess whether the reasons for initially adopting the rules continue to exist. If approved, the proposed rule review will be published in the Texas Register for 30 days. Subject to your questions, staff recommend approval of the proposed 4-year rule review of Title 40, Part 15, Chapters 455 and 456, to be published in the Texas Register for 30 days.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the proposed quadrennial rule review, Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapters 455 and 456?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, a second from Commissioner Barber. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, and moving on to the next agenda item. You can go ahead, Kathleen.
Yes, ma'am. So my next agenda item is 5G for the consideration of the proposed repeal of Title 40, Part 15, Chapter 455, TAPS Tuition Voucher Program. As you can see, this was not part of the quadrennial review. This was staff determined that this proposed repeal was necessary, due to the passage of Senate Bill 1859 during the 88th legislature, effective September 1, 2023, Section 54.344 and Section 434.0072 were repealed. These statutes established a program to issue tuition exemption vouchers for students who sound taps on a bugle, trumpet, or cornet during military honors funerals held in the state for deceased veterans. If approved, the proposed repeal will be posted on the Texas Register's website for 30-day public comment.
Thank you, Kathleen. Any questions?
No.
Do I hear a motion to approve the proposed repeal of Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapter 455, TAPS Program, and publish it in the Texas Register for a period of 30 days?
So move.
Okay, your Commissioner Hernandez is made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Schoenfeld. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and then we have one more, right?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes. My next agenda item is 5H for the consideration of the proposed amendments to Texas Administrative Code Sections 456.8 and 456.13 in Title 40, Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 456, Contract Negotiation and Mediation. Again, the proposed amendment is not due to the 4-year rule review, but rather is being proposed to reflect the change of the title of this position from Chief Administrative Officer to Director of Resource Management. If approved, the proposed amendments will be posted on the Texas Register's website for 30-day public comment, And then at the next commission meeting, staff will be requesting adoption of the rule amendments. Subject to your questions, staff recommends approval of the proposed amendments to Chapter 456 to be published in the Texas Register for 30 days.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the proposed amendment to Title 40 Texas Administrative Code, Part 15, Chapter 456, Contract Negotiation and Mediation, to be published in the Texas Register for a period of 30 days?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. That concludes our consideration items on our agenda. I am not aware of any reason for us to go into executive session today. Moving on to agenda for our next commission meeting. Commissioners, do we have a reason to discuss our next regularly scheduled commission meeting? Right now, it is scheduled for May 16th at 9 a.m. in this building. Is there any reason we need to adjust that? Okay. Well, then I'd like to open up for comments from our commissioners. Our next meeting, as we just discussed, will be May 16th here at 9 a.m. So for closing comments, I will start with our Vice Chair, Commissioner Shanefeld.
Oh, goodness. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm sure all of you know that I have decided not to seek reappointment. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. 6 years went by fast. So this may or may not be my last quarterly commission meeting. So my heart is full as I sit here and think about the body of work of this organization over the past 6 years, and of course, well before that, and all the great things that will continue to happen in the future. So I'll kind of treat these comments like it is my last, because we're just not quite sure. First of all, I'm really glad Hays County, the process works. The process is slightly messy, and details matter. And so always a good cautionary tale, even for myself, to know that when I bring things forward for consideration, I really try to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And I'm glad we were able to do that good work, and that veterans will continue to be supported in Hays County. To our committees, our subcommittees, oh my goodness, that's where the hard work really gets done in so many of the processes that we do here. And it's continued to improve. I mean, we're still making sure the processes are tight. We're making sure we've got the right people on those committees, and the passion that is done down at that level we could not do what we do without the hard work that gets done by those committees. And I'm so glad every quarter to get to hear the voices and the opinions and the way that they continue to advocate for those processes within the Texas Veterans Commission. To the TVC staff, my biggest regret is that I don't get as much time to know each of you individually. But as I hear what you do represented in these meetings, as I see the different vignettes that come in front of me over email or however, the passion and the professionalism have been a constant drumbeat. You lead the state, you lead the nation in the way that you advocate for our veterans, and the way that you represent the state of Texas in your official capacity. And I'm just really humbled and honored to get a chance to witness that with a front row seat. Tom, your leadership has been evident throughout my tenure. I go back to COVID. There were winners and losers in every event that is that kind of destructive event, chaotic event, and TVC was a winner from the beginning. I mean, even from the very start of it, we had already started to take steps to turn processes virtual. And to take paper, as you said, hard copy items and make them electronic, because then it allowed us to continue to support our veterans. Were there hiccups? You bet. Did we respond admirably and passionately and professionally to every one of them? Yes. And so that's just one example that your leadership, took us through that. And you anticipated the Black Swan event, and my hat's off. It was great the way you and the staff responded. To my fellow commissioners, wow, it's been an honor. Your passion for veterans, your professionalism, is unmatched. I have no words. It's just been outstanding. And then just to my adopted state of Texas. Yes, I will continue to cheer for the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Blues. So, although I'm very happy the Rangers are the World Series champions, let me just put that on record. Everything's bigger in Texas. And as I look at how we support our veterans, I mean, our veterans population now leads the nation. But as we heard today, so does our support to our veterans. It leads the nation. As I think about all the rural veteran service challenges that we have, because it's a big state, there's so much territory to cover. And yet we continue to see it and address it and make it better, so that there's no soldier left behind, sailor, airman, Marine. There's nobody left behind. There's no veteran or family member left behind, regardless of the circumstances, in this vast and great state of Texas. To our veterans, I'm humbled and honored by your stories, and I'm just happy that I played a very small part in making sure that you get the support you deserve, you and your families deserve, for serving our great nation. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Secretary Dale.
I'm going to echo everything Commissioner Shaneyfelt said about our staff and how we're doing. And I want to thank you, Commissioner, for your service. And it's been a pleasure to serve with you. And I came on during COVID, and my fellow commissioners were very welcoming, and the staff just went overboard and above and beyond to get us all set up, Commissioner Hernandez and I. So we appreciate that. So I didn't get to meet you for a few months, but I very much enjoyed serving with you. And just to kind of echo the one thing, if you watch the media award with the K Houston, the staff, you'll see that it really does take a community to help each of our veterans. And I'm honored and so proud of our staff for being a huge part of that process. And the community wants to help our veterans, and just having them know that we're here as a resource is huge. So I want to thank our communications team as well, who's really gone out there and tried to make that impact. Because sometimes it's just got to pick up the phone and we'll get them in the right direction. And that's what's so amazing about what we do. And I continue to be honored to be a part of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Barber.
Thank you. I'm going to reserve my comments for Commissioner Shaneyfeld on how she impacted me personally, this commission in this state, because I think she's going to be back here in May, so to round it out. So I'll reserve those for right now. But I did like the fact she touched on the COVID, and I think we're all kind of taking a deep breath and saying, okay, we got through COVID. There was no playbook. So Tom, you and the team, I mean, I don't think we've really, personally, I don't think I've thanked you enough to for the job that you guys did. And again, your leadership led throughout. A couple other things that I'm really like that I've heard over the last few hours. I really like the creative pivots. I like what the organizations are doing, moving people around, identifying needs and conditions, and really being proactive. I'm starting to see, a very client facing, forward looking, customer centric organization coming out of COVID and how difficult it was. So thank you, Tom, and the staff for really pushing, why we're here. And that's to increase our services to veterans every day. So thank you very much. And I'll conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Commissioner Barber. Commissioner Hernandez.
Yes, thank you. I just want to address also Commissioner Shaneyfeld for your comments. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully it's our hope as commissioners that you continue your service on the commission, and thank you very much for your comments. We relate back to the COVID period, and Commissioner Dale and I came in during the COVID, and we didn't see really meet each other person to person for about 2 years. We were on a Zoom. So it's been a pleasure to serve with you. And again, it's my hopes that you continue your service. To the program directors and the services that were presented today, well, thank you for your initiatives, for your reports, and continue to serve our veterans, and want to thank the director for his leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hernandez. Tom, do you have any closing comments?
I did a shout out earlier. You all know what I think of you. Keep it up, keep moving in the right direction, keep improving. And I think that's super important about not resting on any laurels and just keep improving, customer facing, like Commissioner Barber said. To Commissioner Shanefeld, I could go on for a long time of all the contributions, the amazing and positive contributions you've done to this commission. But I do think that you might be here in May because Commissioner Shanefeld will serve until the governor's office appoints a replacement. That's how it works. But I also want to announce that our plan is that in July during the claims training, which happens to be in Denton, which is near where Commissioner Shanefeld lives, that we will actually do a proper farewell and invite everybody to go to that. So thank you for your dedicated service in the United States Air Force and the Commission. And I'll yield to the chair.
Tom. And I think I will do as Commissioner Barber did, kind of hold off my comments on Commissioner Shanefeld, who joined the commission on the same day. We were appointed at the same time. And so our terms aligned. I have requested to continue my service, so I'm hoping to hear back from the governor's office. And, but I also, I will be tracking you down, whether it's at that Denton event or whatever, so we can formally thank you for your service. And it's been an honor to serve alongside. So I appreciate that. And for the staff and to the veterans out there, I just want to say, continue to be impressed by how we approach every one of our meetings and our day-to-day work. I'll add on to what Commissioner Barber said. And what I see that I really like to see is the asking of the why. When in the past we may have done something, and the question is, well, why did we do it that way? Could we do it better? Can we do it a little bit differently? Can we adjust based off of the new technologies that we have? Or why wouldn't we reach out and see if an applicant for a claim just forgot to submit a document? Those type of questions really demonstrate to me the pride and passion that everybody takes in their jobs and the desire to make it better and to really serve our veterans the best way we can. I mean, moving on to Sal's presentation of why don't we have somebody available for veterans after hours? No one's ever done it before. Why wouldn't we? Right? And so thinking of those creative solutions and finding a way to get there, that is what I love to see in our commission. We're always looking to how can I make this happen instead of why can't I make this happen? And I would encourage us to continue with that. And, just thank you so much for everything that you do. So, okay, with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn, commissioners?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion is approved. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much.